Hey there, student pilots! Getting ready for your Air Law Brown exam? Well, let's jump right into an absolute must-know topic. Rule 45, the Aerodrome Traffic Zone, or the ATZ. We're going to break this down so that when you finally sit down for that exam, the answers are just crystal clear.
So, what exactly is an ATZ? Try not to think of it as just boring legal text. It's actually more like a highly protected, invisible bubble established around specific airfields. And its entire purpose? To safeguard local traffic. I mean, think about it. The busiest, most vulnerable phases of any flight are takeoff and landing, right? The ATZ exists purely to throw a protective shield over aircraft during those critical moments. By the end of this explainer, you'll know exactly how to respect that bubble, keep everyone safe, and of course, ace any question the examiners throw at you.
Okay, let's talk size and shape. Close your eyes for a second and mentally draw the zone. What you're drawing is a massive, perfect cylinder. And the magic number you absolutely need to remember is 2,000 feet. This cylinder stretches exactly 2,000 feet straight up from the aerodrome level. Let me repeat that because it's a classic trick question. It's not 2,000 feet above sea level, it's 2,000 feet above the aerodrome itself. So whenever you see an ATZ on your map, just instantly visualize that 2,000-foot high pillar of protected airspace sitting right over the runway.
Section 1. Where do ATZs exist? Let's look at remembering the rule of 3.
Right, so you aren't going to find an ATZ around every single random patch of grass someone decides to land a plane on. To help you instantly recall where they actually exist for your exam maps, there are exactly 3 specific conditions, or types of airfields that command an ATZ. Let's break down this rule of 3. First up, a government or military airfield, specifically when notified. Second, an aerodrome that has an air traffic control or flight information service unit. And third, a licensed aerodrome that simply has a method of two-way communication. But wait, here is the massive red flag you've got to pay attention to because examiners literally love to test this. For those last 2 conditions, the ATZ only exists during the published hours of watch. If the tower is closed and everyone's gone home for the night, that ATZ effectively deactivates. Always look for that caveat, during published hours of watch, when you're staring down those multiple choice answers.
Moving on to Section 2, crossing the boundary, and your legal ATZ entry options.
So how do you actually legally cross into this 2,000-foot cylinder? You can't just breeze right through without following some very strict legal protocols. Rule 45 gives us 2 distinct pathways for entering, taking off from, or landing within the zone. On one hand, we have Air Traffic Control Unit, or ATCU permission. If the aerodrome has an active ATC, you need explicit permission. A clearance to enter, depart, or land. It's totally black and white. On the other hand, if the aerodrome doesn't have an ATCU but instead provides a flight information or air-ground communication service, you don't get a strict clearance. Instead, the law requires that you obtain the information necessary to enable the flight to be conducted safely within the ATZ. So you're either getting direct permission from a controller or you're acquiring crucial safety information from the ground station to make your own safe pilot and command decisions.
Section 3. Inside the cylinder and your in-flight procedures. Okay, so you've gained your permission or you've obtained your safety info and officially crossed the boundary. Awesome. But just because you're legally inside the 2,000-foot cylinder doesn't mean you can just sit back and relax. Actually, this is where your workload goes up. Let's walk through the chronological checklist of the rigid rules you really have to follow. Step 1 is totally non-negotiable. You must maintain a continuous listening watch on the appropriate frequency. You're sharing this busy bubble with other aircraft, so your radio is basically your lifeline. But what if that's not possible? Say your radio completely fails. Well, that brings us to step 2. You must keep a sharp watch for visual signals from the ground. If the radio goes quiet, your eyes need to be glued to the tower looking for light signals. And finally, step 3 ties it all together for radio-equipped aircraft. You must report your exact position and height at 2 very specific moments, immediately upon entering the ATZ and immediately prior to leaving the ATZ. This just ensures everyone in the zone knows exactly where you are as you cross those invisible boundaries. So are you ready to master the rest of Air Law? Look, if you just keep visualizing that 2,000-foot cylinder, remember the rule of 3, and follow those strict entry and listening protocols, you have absolutely got this exam in the bag, no question. But what actually happens from a legal standpoint if you accidentally bust through an active ATZ without permission? Well, we'll tackle the consequences of airspace infringements next time. If you found this explainer helpful, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more ground exam explainers coming your way very soon. Happy studying and safe flying out there.